Martin, what brings you to the Association Learning Providers Conference today?
Well, I was invited, first time ever, that a Chief Executive of the Association of Colleges has been presenting to an ALP conference. I'm very pleased to be here indeed. And I think that's one of the things that actually underwrite my contribution today, is that the way in which institutions and training providers have got to compete and collaborate. And the compete and collaborate, I think, is a trick we really need to fall in the future if we're going to survive and thrive in what's going to be constrained circumstances.
You did a lot of your speech on survive and thrive. Could you give us a few more details on that?
Yeah, I think that the further education sector as a whole, and I would say because I represent colleges has been the most successful sector in education over the last 5 years. And there are certain characteristics that have ensured its success over those 5 years, which I think would be really important to enable them to survive and thrive in the future. And those types of characteristics, I think, are about adaptability, to adapt to what the new requirements are, to adapt to what students are asking for, what businesses are asking for, and to adapt to what a community need is. The ability to interpret and adapt, I think, is what marks out both independent providers and colleges in the sector, and it's distinct from what higher educational schools have been doing. Now, I think that characteristic can be increasingly important in the time ahead. Government are going to be more trusting and more asking institutions to show more initiative to respond, and I think colleges and providers are a very good place to do that. The other issue is around scale, and I think scale is a very interesting issue. Colleges are neither so large that they become difficult to change, nor so small that they don't have the capacity to change. A university, I think, in some ways, some will be very responsible, parts of the university will be responsive, but some of them have been doing the same thing for the last 800 years. And they'll survive and carry on doing the same thing for the last 800 years. Others, I think, will need to change, but will find difficulty in doing that because they've not had the history of change at the same rapid pace. Schools, on the other hand, tend to be small. They might be agile, but have they got the amount of managerial capacity to actually adapt and change? Colleges have that capacity. Now, if you look at providers around that, some of the larger providers are similar to colleges. Some of the smaller providers will score on having been niche players and been agile around the market. But I think they're going to have to find some bigger partners to work with during these times, which is back to my message of compete and collaborate. The other characteristic I think about is about responsiveness. Colleges have succeeded and independent providers have succeeded because they've responded directly to what individual learners want and need, and what businesses say they want and need. And it's that interpretation and responsiveness which I think will really lead to actually them succeeding. Slightly different for adaptability. Adaptability is the whole organisation, responsiveness is to the individual and to the business. So those characteristics, I think, will lead colleges to survive and thrive what comes along in the future, and I think the same applies to independent providers. The other issue is about behaviours, and one of the behaviours I think we need to be just confident in what we're going into. It's going to be difficult. Nobody's going to be in an easy place about constricted government funding, but I think we can afford to be confident in our ability to deliver in those circumstances, as confident or more confident than a lot of other sectors in education. We need to compete and collaborate, keep coming back to the message, and the final thing, we need to be trusted in order to be able to do that. And I think the first signs from government are good in this regard, but we've got to repay that trust and deliver against that trust.